never search for your life, but you will 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 never search for your life.
The road to the 1994 AMA 250 outdoor title proved to be a long walk for Mike LaRocco, at least during the first half of the season. LaRocco, along with his Kawasaki teammate Mike Kiedrowski, would swap victories throughout the first 6 events, but it would be LaRocco who would go on to dominate, winning 13 of a total of 24 motos. As you might imagine, the close competition through the first half of the season between the two Kawasaki teammates would lead to a lot of frustration. And that frustration came to a head in the 6th event of the year at Redbud, Michigan. Round 7 moved on to Unadilla, and that meant disaster for Kiedrowski. A broken right ring finger effectively ended his season and handed the #1 plate to Mike LaRocco. The only surprise in 94, John Dowd, with 2 overall victories. So the question is, in 95, can anyone defuse the rocket? As we look down from high atop Gatorback Cycle Park, Gainesville, Florida, a record crowd on hand to watch the opening round of 95. Hello, everyone. I'm John Kernan, along with former Supercross and Motocross champion David Bailey. And David, last year, LaRocco and Kiedrowski stunk up the show, at least for us. But this year, they're going to have competition.
Well, they definitely will. This year, this class is stacked with talent. McGrath, who was able to challenge these guys last year for about 20 minutes, was getting tired. This year, he has a trainer, and he is fit to go the distance. Also, Larry Ward has been on fire this season, and Greg Albertine, 3 times a world champion. No stranger to going fast on natural terrain.
Well, the guys who are moving up from the 125s, the 3 guys are no strangers to going fast either.
Right. Well, 2 of those, Jeff Emig and Doug Henry, moving up to the 250s. These guys both have a 125 title under their belts. And Ezra Lusk, very fast, but the question is, can he keep it on 2 wheels?
Well, Jeremy McGrath, of course, has a trainer this year, but it may not help him this weekend, although it might. He has the flu. How will that affect him?
Well, it would affect anybody. It's going to be very humid, and I don't know about you, but when I have the flu, I can't do much of anything, so he's got his work cut out.
Everyone had their work cut out for them this weekend as we prepared for the sweeping turn. Kyle Lewis was still maintaining the advantage, but look at that battle as Kiedrowski moving back and forth, searching for a line to get around Doug Henry.
You know, Kyle Lewis is riding pretty good right here, but I think Henry and Kiedrowski really feel the urgency to get around him and move to the front.
Henry certainly looks good. Earlier, Art Ackman talked to him about moving up from 125s to 250s.
Yeah, it was something I wanted to do. Moving to the 250s was kind of my decision, you know. I think Honda, you know, probably would have liked me to go out there and run the #1 plate in the 125 class, but I think they would like to see how I do in the 250 class, and I really, you know, I felt like I kind of won the 125, and I feel like it's time to step up for the 250 and try to go out there and win that. I think, you know, the competition is strong outdoors, but I've always been a strong outdoor rider, so I think I'll be able to, you know, move right in there in the top few guys and hopefully win this thing.
Oh, I think he's a contender for sure. As you see him jump that long plateau right there. Geez, you messed that up and you're going for a swim. We talked about that earlier. You know, I'm glad to see him in the 250 class. He's done all that he can do in the 125s, 2 titles in a row. I think he belongs on a 250. It's just going to be easier for him to ride that bike all year long instead of having to switch back and forth all the time.
Well, on the backside, while we were hearing from Doug, he got around Kyle Lewis. He moved into the 4th position, and now you see Kiedrowski making a bid for the 5th spot as we get ready to head down that big drop as they'll come around this left-hander, drop at least 3 stories. Then you have to go another right-hander up top. And oh, look at Kiedrowski. Kiedrowski trying to make the move to go into 5th place and just basically got in there just a little too hard. The rear wheel washed out, and he goes down. Now he's trying to refire the bike.
Well, you know, when you fall like that, all that humidity and heat catches up with you, and it's so hard to get going again. And, he dropped the bike pretty hard. We're going to get another look at it right here. He just tries to go up the inside and possibly being a little polite and not wanting to get out there and do any kind of harm to Kyle Lewis. He goes down in the process. A lot of times you bend the bars, you bend the levers, tear the grips, and it really wrecks your concentration for the rest of the race.
Right now, Doug Henry has his sights set on third place, being held currently by Larry Ward. As we take a look at the Suzuki Field Summary, we'll be back with more from Gainesville right after this. Art Ekman, David Bailey, and John Kernan welcome you back to Gatorback Cycle Park just outside of Gainesville, Florida. And the man you're watching right now, number 111, Greg Albertine, is your leader. You haven't seen much of him earlier because he got off to such a big lead. But the defending national champion, Mike LaRocco, is beginning to close the gap, David.
He sure is. He's got him within sights. And, you know, this is what LaRocco does so well. He's able to get off to a decent start. And he just sets his sights on the leader, starts chipping away, makes these guys nervous. This looks like last year when he was chasing down Brian Swink, but he wasn't able to make that pass. See if he can do it today.
Well, there you see a signboard held by his father, Mike Sr. Let's check in with Art.
Mike Sr., you look very confident in your sign to Mike Jr. out there. He's picking up valuable seconds every lap.
Yeah, and we're just now pushing halfway. I feel confident. He feels confident. We're not putting our foot in our mouth. We're just going for it.
A little non-committal there, don't you think, David?
Yeah, well, you know, last year he was chasing down Brian Swink, and we asked him what he thought, and he thought his son was going to be able to make that pass, and he couldn't. And really, Albertine's kind of a mystery in the outdoors. No one really knows how fast he can go or how long he can go this pace.
Well, the world champion, of course, they don't race the 30-minute motos, right? They do 3 20 minutes.
Well, he's got the endurance. There's no doubt about that. I'm not sure if he's used to this humidity, though. It's definitely hot out there, and he looks pretty good right now. But LaRocco, as he closes ground, that's going to make Albertine nervous. And a lot of guys have their arms pump up when they get nervous. They start riding defensive, and then it's all over.
Well, now we look back at third place. You see Larry Ward. Look at that, David. He's kind of shaking his right hand. I wonder if there's a problem with his wrist. But right now, if that's not the case, he's got a problem with Doug Henry, who wants that spot.
Well, he gets it, too, right up the inside. Doesn't waste any time for that. And that was a weird move by Ward. He doesn't seem to be riding as aggressive as he was earlier. There's another look at it. It looks like maybe his arm's pumping up, and he's just trying to shake it out. You're just cruising through that long sweeper there. Doug Henry just takes advantage, goes right to the inside. I don't know if Larry Ward realized he's that close already.
Well, Doug Henry has moved into third place. We heard from him a little bit earlier. Been very impressive in his 250 debut. Let's check into Doug's pit now with Art Ekman, who's standing by with Pete Steinbrecher.
Pete, Doug has won one of the biggest victories within the race in that battle for third place. Does he have the time now to catch up to the leaders?
I don't think he's got the time to catch up to the leaders. Those guys, they got such a lead on him that it's very difficult for a rider to catch up unless maybe he can see him a little bit. And as you can see, that they got some time on him.
Well, he's starting to look comfortable now in the 250 in this portion of the race.
Yeah, he likes his 250, and I think for the rest of this race, we're going to have to keep him ahead in third place and try to go after those guys in the second moto.
Well, you know, all you can really do, once you're in third and you're all alone like that, it's a lonely place. But you just try to focus on riding as fast as you can in case one of those riders in front of him has a problem. Then you can capitalize on it. And to think about how the track's going to start to develop as the second moto gets underway, and to sort of have that in mind between races and be able to get out to a quicker start in the second moto.
Now we look at the battle for the fourth spot. There is Larry Ward. He continues to slow. Ezra Lusk moves around, and we saw the number 3 Honda in there. He comes right into your picture, sliding into your living room, and that is Jeremy McGrath, the defending Supercross champion, and just been dominant on the Supercross series this year so far.
Well, that was a pretty strong move on the inside of Larry Ward. Larry Ward definitely has a problem. He's dropped back. Guys are passing him left and right, but McGrath is on the move. He came from way back. You saw how bad of a start he got. And with the flu and the humidity and coming through traffic like that, I'm pretty impressed. You know, he's not an outdoor rider, but he looks good today.
Well, he must have been feeling better because last night I saw him playing some pool. But he did get to bed early, I think. There you see Doug Henry taking that outside line, and now we move back up front as there you see some of the lap traffic as Greg Albertine appears to have either slowed down or Mike LaRocco has sped up because LaRocco has caught him.
And you saw Albertine just kind of looked over his shoulder. There's no one where he was looking. The guy he needs to be concerned about is right behind him, and problems for John Dowd. That's that elevator. I can only assume he was trying to do that double jump and went down in the process.
Must have endoed that thing, end over end, Dowd now, and you can see the lever's been on that bike. He's trying to get it refired, and I tell you what, doing an endo up there can do a lot of damage to the bike. We'll have to see how that plays out in the second moto. But now we've got a battle for third place. The Honda Red Rider teammates, Doug Henry, who is in third, is being challenged by Jeremy McGrath. And Jeremy this week sporting a new look. He shaved off his goatee.
Well, it definitely cut down on his drag coefficient. Right here, he's reeled in Doug Henry. We mentioned just a moment ago, Henry was out there all alone, but McGrath on the move, closes the gap, and it looks inevitable. He's going to get around Henry as fast as he caught up.
We are in the closing stages of Moto number 1, and Albertine continues to lead it. Once again, just refreshing your memory if you're a Supercross fan. Outdoors, we run 2 30-minute motos plus 2 laps at the end. Things are winding down, a couple of laps to go. Greg Albertine, 3-time world champion, trying to hold off the defending series champion, Mike LaRocco.
LaRocco trying everything. He's going inside, he's going outside. He's working on Albertine. That's going to be good. And here's another battle of the 2 Honda teammates. We got a nice inside pass by McGrath. He didn't have a whole lot of room there. He just sort of made a line. There you get a glimpse of Jeff Emick, who we haven't seen much of, and Mike Kiedrowski. Remember, he crashed earlier. He's regrouped and stayed with this group, and I'm impressed with that.
That was a very impressive charge toward the front for Jeremy McGrath, the Supercross champion, David. The knock on him over the years has been he's not an outdoor rider, but it looks like he's got it together this year.
Well, he has something to prove, and he needs to get it proven in this first race, and that's tough to do with the flu. And you know, the conditioning that he's in this year, I think, allows him to have this kind of performance being sick.
Well, as we said, 102-degree temperature. Now his mechanic, Skip Norfolk, also has been ill this week. He's standing by with Art Ekman.
After a week of both of you being sick, this is a phenomenal comeback for Jeremy McGrath in this race.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. He seems to be gaining a little bit of strength here at the end of the moto. Jim Anderson and Showa got the bike working really nice. He's able to save a lot of energy because of that, and hopefully it's paying off right now. He looks pretty strong here. We got about 6 minutes left.
Jeremy McGrath's really having to reach down deep to come up with this third place. You know, I mean, he's got to feel terrible. The flu, the humidity, coming from behind, and he looks tired. And I don't think he was seeing that same performance last year. And Mike Kiedrowski's down again. This looks like the same section where Henry was using that fine line up on the edge. It's very technical, and he paid the price.
Meanwhile, back up front, next to last lap, and Mike LaRocco, the defending 250 national champion, has finally chased down and passed the 3-time world champion, Greg Albertine.
Well, it's an awesome plateau. You see all the air they're getting off it. Look at LaRocco. He's building all his momentum around the outside. Right there, Albertine missed a shift coming out of the inside. You know, when you use that rougher inside line, it's hard to maintain your momentum, and you're trying to shift in the middle of all those bumps. And that's where it looked like LaRocco's making up all his time and where he was able to make the pass.
Well, the white flag out. We are on the final lap. Let's take a look at the pass for the lead.
Well, this is another section on the racetrack where LaRocco's making up time. Albertine felt that he needed to protect the inside. What happened was LaRocco went to the outside, carried more momentum, and was able to get more drive out of the corner.
And now LaRocco just on a Sunday afternoon ride around the Gatorback Cycle Park through the pits, and the fans cheering wildly. He will come up top of the hill, and yes, there's the checkered flag. Mike LaRocco wins the first moto of 1995. Greg Albertine, the 3-time world champion, comes home in the second spot, and he's got to be very pleased with that. A lot of us didn't know what to expect from the world champion, but a fine showing in the first moto. As you take a look at the top 5, Jeff Emick in 4th, Doug Henry fades back to 5th. As we look at the rest of the top 10, let's check in with Art Ekman, who has caught up with the winner, Mike LaRocco.
Michael, an exhausting, great battle.
Yeah, actually, I felt pretty good. You know, it's the first national of the year, and nobody really knows what to expect, but I got out to a decent start, and, you know, I caught Greg and followed around most of the race. He was making some mistakes, and I just took my time with him, and it paid off.
You like that downhill section for the pass?
Yeah, I'll take it anywhere, really. I mean, the track's got some good ruts in it, so it causes mistakes, but I always seem to be in the way, so I'll take that one.
Good luck in the second moto.
Thanks.
Greg Albertine swept around Larry Ward early in the first moto to take the lead. He held it until the next to last lap. He is standing by with Art.
Greg, an outstanding battle for your first motocross battle here in the United States Series. Your impressions?
Well, I'm a bit disappointed I didn't win. Mike was going really well. Pushed me right from the before the halfway mark, and I give it to him. He rode like a star. I tended to get tired towards the end, and once he bossed me, I was just trying to see where he was quicker than me because he was gaining on me quite a few times. But he rode an outstanding race. I just got too tired.
Gave you a good indication, though, for the second moto.
Well, that's right. I hope I can get my fitness up a little bit and feel a bit stronger for the second one.
And how about the ride by Jeremy McGrath, the Supercross dominator who comes in here with the flu. He finishes in 3rd place.
And perhaps the biggest accomplishment in this first moto was Jeremy McGrath fighting off the cold. And I know you don't want to spend too much time out here, Jeremy, but your impression, you came on so strong, so smooth the second half of that race.
Well, I kind of got stopped up in the beginning. I couldn't ride really good, and was just trying to figure out the track. I was all over the place. It was so dusty. And then started gaining a couple positions and felt really good, and then just tried to be really consistent. I'm about 3/4 energy right now, so it's pretty, I got to be smooth out there.
Well, even your mechanic, Skip Norfolk, wasn't quite as excited on the sideline as he normally is. He wasn't feeling that great either, but boy, you guys really put it together.
Yeah, we both ended up getting the flu this week, and you know, it's a tough thing. It's not too good a timing, actually, for the first race here, but you know, it's just things you have to deal with. You can't tell when they're going to come.
You showed where you brought it from this time, Jeremy. Nice
Thanks.
going.
Thanks.
Moto number 1 is in the books. We will be back very shortly for the start of Moto number 2. Before Moto number 2 gets underway, let's take this time out to check our Suzuki flashback. 1984 Gatorback Cycle Park. David, you were here, so take us through it.
Well, I rode the 500 class that day, and I remember watching this battle. Watch right here. Barnett takes Hannah wide. Hannah saving it, doing what he does best. He'll go on to take the lead for a little while, but number 17, Rick Johnson right there, catches him and passes him. Takes the first moto win, but he breaks a shock in the second moto, and Hannah takes the overall win. He said at the end, Johnson was faster because if you wait around long enough, those Yamahas will break down.
Spoken like a former Honda rider. Well, we're getting set for the start of Moto number 2, but first let's pause for Ben Cheatwood and Jeff Stanton with this week's Honda Riding Tip.
I'm Ben Cheatwood, and join me for the Honda Riding Tip is Jeff Stanton, 6-time national champion. Jeff, apparel's real important.
Definitely, Ben. First, we're going to start out with a helmet. Obviously, lots of manufacturers that make helmets. Most importantly, DOT approved. Also, comfortable, firm-fitting helmet. Next, we're going to move on to the goggles. Same deal applies. Lots of manufacturers make the goggles. Most importantly, let's keep them sticks, rocks, mud away from our eyes. We're going to move on to the boots third. We need a boot with a nice solid sole, so if we get our foot wrapped around a tree root or the foot peg, our foot gets underneath that bike, and we're not going to tweak an ankle. Going back to the 3 good basic parts for motocross apparel: boots, helmet, and goggles.
The most important thing is every time you ride, wear your proper riding apparel. For Team Honda and Jeff Stanton, I'm Ben Cheatwood.
Thank you, Ben. Well, we are getting set. There's the board. You see the riders on the line. Bikes are fired. We're just sitting here waiting. Kind of tense right now, the start of the second moto, isn't it, David?
Well, you know, these guys don't get a chance to look at the track. That's the one thing I always remember, and it takes you a couple of laps to get into your pace and find out that it's that much rougher after the 125s have been out there. And the guys that are able to do that quick are the ones that will have a big advantage.
There you see LaRocco, who won the first moto, is off quickly. Look from Rich Taylor's helmet cam, the Honda helmet cam, through that first turn.
Oh, it's hard to tell what's going on up front. That's why you want to be up there, not back in all this mess. You see the vision starts to go, the dust, dirt. And if any of these riders go down, you're right in the middle of them.
Oh, and look at that. Taylor almost gets into David Gaylord. Now the drop down into the pit. It looks like Todd DeHoop got the whole shot. Then you've got McGrath, Doug Henry. You've got Ron Titchener and Albertine, who jumped off to that big lead early on. Here in the second moto, did not get quite as good a start back in the 6th spot.
Well, we'll see how good Albertine is at carving through the pack, but right now McGrath has got the start he needs. He said he needed to save energy, and he'll be able to do that with this good start. He's got to get around DeHoop, though. He's got to do it quick.
Well, right now he's got to worry about his Honda factory teammate Doug Henry. Henry making a move on the inside as he will sweep around McGrath, take over the 2nd spot. Meanwhile, Todd DeHoop, the Honda of Troy rider, out in front of Doug Henry, but he slips a little bit to the wide side. Henry on the inside. Doug going up the jump. He will power past DeHoop and take over the top spot. And David, you can see just how dusty it's getting out there.
Right, it's pretty clear vision for these guys, but as you move further back in the pack, probably about to where the Kawasaki guys are, you can't see the ground and all those rocks. If your front wheel hits one of those, you're going down. It happened a couple of times to Kiedrowski in the first moto.
We see Doug Henry and now Jeremy McGrath trying the inside. He cuts off Henry. They will come up the elevator, and McGrath maintains the lead as they sweep around to the right side. What a great move there by Jeremy.
Awesome move, and you know, Jeremy's got the speed. I don't know if he's got the stamina because of the flu, but he's got the speed, and if Henry can kind of hitch a ride, they might be able to get away from the field. You see LaRocco there and Kiedrowski, not that bad of a start, but they're buried behind a few riders, including DeHoop, who could act as a buffer for these two Honda teammates.
Well, it looked like Jeremy just took a tearaway off there as he came around that turn. Get a little air there, but not too much. Once again, you've got two factory Hondas out front. Then you've got the Honda of Troy bike of Todd DeHoop. How big a difference, David, between those bikes?
Well, it's a pretty big difference. You know, what you've got the luxury of, as you mentioned, you heard Skip Norfolk talking earlier about dialing in Jeremy's suspension to save energy. They have that luxury. They can make any change they want. The bikes are typically a little bit lighter, and the power band is a lot better, but most of all, I think the suspension. And that gives you the confidence to charge through these holes without letting your arms get pumped up just from riding so tense.
There's the green flag out. Let's see as Albertine and Todd DeHoop side by side come over the start-finish line in a dead heat for third place. Albertine got off to a sixth-place start. Now he's trying on the inside. He's trying to move up into that third position. He's already made up a couple of spots, but it didn't work right there.
Well, he knows he's got to get around DeHoop and not let those Honda guys get away, which is already starting to happen. And he's going to have company from the two Kawasaki riders that are coming up from behind, very strong.
And also Anthony Amaradio in number 33, he is starting to make his move as he has moved into the top 6. But now you see Albertine has gotten around into third place, and there's Amaradio on the 33 bike, and right behind him, do I see? Yes, it's Mike LaRocco and Mike Kiedrowski.
All these factory bikes trying to move around the privateers. You've got Albertine on the charge. He's staying in contact with the two Honda guys, and the Kawasaki riders. Pretty decent start for a change. They've got their sights also on the leaders. You heard Henry's mechanic earlier refer to it's hard for the guys to charge the lead if they can't see him. Everybody's right there. LaRocco's down.
Mike LaRocco coming around that flat turn, just lost it. It looked like he got in there just a little bit too hard and washed out. Let's take another look at it.
Watch how close Kiedrowski comes to LaRocco. Almost runs over his teammate LaRocco, doing a good job of getting going again. You know, this is the same section that we saw earlier in the show from the helmet cam, how slick it was. You saw those two riders go down. Plus, there was a lot of dust right there, so LaRocco couldn't really focus on where the traction was.
Meanwhile, a battle for second place shaping up between Albertine and Doug Henry. You see Jeremy McGrath starting to pull away just a little bit, but neck in neck Albertine. Oh, he comes down pretty hard and loses just a little bit of ground to Henry. Henry will try to protect that inside line. Albertine going to the outside. Let's see if he can sweep off and make the pass. Oh, he does. He just barely gets past Doug Henry. That was a great move, David.
And a much-needed move for him. He smoked McGrath in the first moto, and he probably feels like he can go up there and challenge him for the lead. Oh, big swap by McGrath. You can see between motos, that track gets rougher and rougher. These guys are hitting stuff, and until they start to find their lines, they can expect to get a little squirrely here and there.
Well, Albertine running now in second place. He finished in second in the first moto. He's looking to maybe get around McGrath, win, and wrap up the first moto victory of 1995, his first since moving over here to the United States. We are in the early stages of moto number 2, and we'll be right back after this. Art Ekman, David Bailey, and John Kernan back at Gatorback Cycle Park. You're looking at Mike LaRocco, who has fallen early on in moto number 2, and he has dropped back in the pack. He's having to work his way up. He won moto number 1.
You see him jumping that long plateau, passing Amaradio, working that outside line, staying out of all those bumps. He's going to save energy that way, but the leaders are starting to get away. I think he still looks pretty strong after that crash, but that sure can take the wind out of your sails.
Well, it doesn't look like he did any damage to the bike. He was able to get the bike up and going very, very quickly. Right now, he's slowly dicing his way through traffic as he tries to chase down the leaders and try to get back into a position to come away with the overall victory for today. Now, the leader back up front is Jeremy McGrath, and let's check into his pits where Art Ekman is standing by.
Skip, a great start. What did you do between motos to settle him down and get him some rest?
Well, I just got him cooled off and get his lungs cleared out and kind of just keep him relaxed a little bit. And just kind of went together and said, hey, we got to get a better start so you can get out front. Hopefully after the end you get a little time in and you can rest a little bit, turn the moto. But Albie's on him right now. Kiedrowski's back there. LaRocco looks like he's coming on, so it's going to be a long 30 minutes.
And what McGrath has going for him right now is that these guys Dyson for second, they're sort of riding defensive and possibly slowing each other down. That's allowed McGrath to sort of check out. He's going to need a big gap when LaRocco and those guys catch up.
But right now, Albertine has gotten around Doug Henry. Well, I spoke too soon. Something happened to Albertine right there, David. He slows way down. He had moved around into the second spot, and apparently he's got some kind of a problem as he slows down. You see Kiedrowski and now LaRocco is finally moving into your picture, but Doug Henry is in second. Let's check into his pits with Art.
Well, there's so much competition out there this year. One little mistake and boom, they take advantage of it. And Doug this time took advantage of number 111.
Yeah, I think Albertine's having a hard day. I believe something's wrong with his bike. I think he missed a couple of gears, but that's okay for us. We're going to take advantage of whatever we can get.
Well, if he's right there and Jeremy should will, Jeremy hasn't been feeling that well.
Well, Jeremy beat him in the first moto, so I'll look for Jeremy to be pretty strong, but, you know, I'll just have to see what I can do to get my rider going.
Right now, Henry's in second. Third place belongs to Albertine, but Kiedrowski closing in on him. And before we talk to Pete, I'd made the mention it looked like might be something wrong with Albertine's bike. What do you think, David?
No, I think he still looks pretty good. Nothing appears to be wrong. He's getting sideways. I thought he might have had a flat there a minute ago, but I think it's just the lines he's choosing. He's hitting all the holes, and you know, he's missed a couple of gears that way.
Well, let's check into his pits and see if there is, in fact, a problem with Art Ekman.
Ian, is there something maybe wrong with the bike?
I'm not 100% sure, but he didn't jump that big jump there at the back on the last lap, but he's just jumped it now, so maybe he missed a gear or something. I'm not 100% sure. I'll see now when he comes by.
Another great battle in your hands.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Right now, Ian's rider, Albertine, is running along in the third position ahead of Mike Kiedrowski. And oh, look at that. The Kawasaki of number 1 Mike LaRocco has pulled it over, David. I wonder what the problem is.
Well, by that gesture he just made, I think he's out. He's not going to finish this moto. What a bad break. Winning the first moto, he's going to drop 25 points right here. And probably one of his toughest competitors, McGrath, is out there leading it. That's got to be possibly the championship down the tubes right there.
Yeah, but it's still too early, isn't it? I mean, if you're going to have bad luck or a problem like that, look, they're picking up the front wheel, dragging it off. I wonder if there's a problem with the hub, the spokes, or...
He could have broken the front wheel. I mean, it's got to be something to do with the brake, or he's broken the front wheel completely. The track is just so hard packed, and all the bumps are really sharp, and there's a couple of places where if you come up short or just on some of those dropaways, it puts so much force on the bike. And, you know, it's really unusual for guys to break down these days, but it happened.
Well, he won the first moto, so he gets 25 points for that. He's going to miss this. That's no points as we see the dejected Mike LaRocco, the defending national champion, walking slowly back toward the pit area. But like I said, this is the first race of the year. If you're going to have something like this happen, I guess you want it to happen early. You certainly don't want this to happen at the end. And there you get a look at Yamaha independent rider Brian McElroy out of Ridge Manor, Florida, as he says, come on, guy, hop on my bike and I'll give you a ride back.
Brian's hoping some of that speed will rub off on his Yamaha. Well, this is disastrous for LaRocco. I remember in 1985, I was dicing with Brock Glover the last lap of the first moto, and I crashed at the bottom of that hill right there, right before the finish, and was unable to finish the moto. So I dropped 25 points right away. And the rest of the season, I was playing catch-up and basically handed the title over to Brock Glover.
Well, these three riders trying to play catch-up to Jeremy McGrath, your leader. You're getting a look now at Mike Kiedrowski, who has gotten around Greg Albertine and moved into third place. Doug Henry, the Honda rider, continues to hold down the second spot. And as you take a look at the Honda field summary, we'll let you know that we will be back with the closing stages of Moto number 2 after this. Back at Gatorback Cycle Park just outside of Gainesville, Florida. There you get the signboard McGrath number 1, Henry number 2, and the number 7 bike of Mike Kiedrowski is making a run at Henry to try to move it into the second spot. He sweeps along, gets the drive up the hill, and he just made that look easy, David.
Oh, he sure did. You know, Mike's got the strength and the stamina, and he's proved himself outdoors. He's won the 250 title before, and he's just showing Henry what it's all about right there. I think his mechanic, Brian Lunas, where he had kind of jokingly put on the board his positions, he put you third. You make the move now. You got to go after the leader.
Well, right now he is in second going after the leader. Now, we told you LaRocco has had a problem. He is retired for this moto. Let's check in with him.
Well, it's going to be an interesting season. That's an understatement. What happened on the crash out there, Mike?
Well, when I landed up that jump, my front hub had broke, and the wheel just got tied up in the forks and twisted, and I fell over. So wasn't much I could do about that one.
Well, you didn't have to wait for a taxi back.
Nah, luckily Brian McElroy gave me a ride up, saved me from walking up the big hill.
Well, I've been there before. It's not a fun place to be, but he's being a pretty good sport about it.
Yeah, there he is. He takes his goggles and he'll make his way back to the pit. Up front, meanwhile, Jeremy McGrath. Remember, he finished third in the first moto this afternoon. He is currently leading it, and David, he has pulled out to a really good. Oh, look at Greg Albertine. Albertine, who had been running along in the third spot, he is now pulled off the course.
Looks like the rear wheel. I saw Roger looking at the back of the bike. He's broken the rear wheel. You see it's all wobbly, plus he's got a flat tire. Of course, when the spokes get loose, they just poke through the tube.
Well, Steve Lamson had a problem in the 125 motos earlier today, so I wonder if we're beginning to see some problems crop up for some of these guys.
Well, the track's obviously wear and tear on the motorcycle. You know, McGrath, it makes me think he's riding to save energy. And when you ride that way, you're less wear and tear on the motorcycle. You're trying to set it down soft everywhere.
Well, Art Ekman is down in the pits, and he's got more on this development.
Most all the teams, after Steve Lamson had his tire problems earlier in the 125, had tires in surplus waiting in case of an incident. Greg Albertine's team had to run and get the rear tire. His spokes have been shot, and the tire was actually flat. So a bad break for Greg Albertine here in the second moto. Greg, where did it happen?
I think on the big jump, just going down into the quarry. It's absolutely massive, and it's getting pretty rutted up there.
So the impact was what just blew it, is that it?
Well, I don't know if I got the puncher first or the spokes broke, but for the last couple of laps I could notice it.
Well, here's a close-up look at that wheel. You can see it's shot. All the spokes are broken, a flat tire, and what a break from McGrath. These two guys were the only guys that really proved the speed, LaRocco and Albertine, that they could beat McGrath. Now they're both dropping 25 points to him.
Let's go a little further back in the pack. You've got John Dowd on the outside. You've got Todd DeHoof there, neck in, neck into the turn. They may have touched just a little bit, and John Dowd goes down, but he gets right back up. He's lost, what, about 2 spots there?
I think he only lost a couple of spots, but now Kiedrowski's down again.
Oh, man, what a rough day for him.
He's been down on the ground quite a few times. I don't think he's going to want to put this behind him, but still, you know, in terms of position, he's not that far back. Having a pretty good day.
Not too bad a day while his teammate, the defending national champion, sits on the sidelines after winning moto number 1. Moto number 2, he had a problem. Greg Albertine, who finished second in the first moto, is also on the sidelines. As you take a look at the Honda field summary, we will be back with the finish right after this. We are on the final lap at Gatorback Cycle Park as the first race of the outdoor season coming to a close. Jeremy McGrath, David, with the other 2 riders, with Albertine and LaRocco on the well. We've got another rider down, and I believe if we can get a look at the number plate.
It looks like Phil Lawrence.
Yeah,
and this is the top of that elevator, so I don't know if he went down in the corner or tried to jump that double and ended up all the way up here, but he doesn't look very good right now.
No, he looks like he's shaken up. Hopefully he wasn't hurt very seriously now as one of the workers talking to him. But getting back to McGrath, what a way to start the season for him. All he has to do is hang on, and he will get the overall victory.
Well, it's going to be his first 250 outdoor national win, first one of the season, and I think he's proved to everyone that he has arrived and he is a contender for the national title.
No Natnack. I'm kind of disappointed.
Well, he's got the flu. You got to remember, he probably didn't feel too good. He's got to be happy with his first outdoor win, though.
He's got to be very happy with that first outdoor victory of the season, and that's going to give him quite an advantage over the 2 guys who appear to be fastest in Moto number 1. There's a look at your results for Moto number 2. Kiedrowski rallying for that second-place finish. As you look at the rest of the top 10, Art Ekman is with Jeremy.
Well, I think incredible is many times overused, Jeremy, but you really wanted this first national outdoor, and you wouldn't let that cold, you wouldn't let the flu get in the way.
Well, I was on the couch all week. Maybe it helped me not riding so much. I don't know. I didn't know how strong I'd be. I felt kind of weak going to the starting line, but I just got a good start and started riding, just had a good pace, and no one was catching me. I was pulling away.
That was amazing, too. You were pulling away from a very fast, tough pack behind you.
Yeah, there was a lot of guys on my tail there for a while. And the start is crucial. I mean, something I got that time, and I was fighting bad for it.
How big is this first moto, or I should say your first victory in the outdoors?
Well, you know, I think once again, I've proved everyone wrong. Everyone always doubts me, and you know, I like to come out and ride and put in a good showing, and it makes it all that much more sweeter when I win the first national. Now it's got all these guys thinking, and it's got me and my trainer, Gary Semix, on top of the world.
Of course, Jeremy's on top of the point standing as well as the overall results after the first event of 1995. Mike Kiedrowski is second. He was fourth after this event last year. Let's check in with Mike Kiedrowski, who's with Art Ekman.
Oh, Mike, your impressions now after the first outdoors. It was a tremendous battle, a very tough track.
Yeah, the track was real hard and choppy and dusty and stuff. In the first moto, I don't think I had my bike set up too good. It was really loose, and I was bouncing all over the track. And you know, that's the reason I fell 2 times and stuff. So second moto, we just softened it up. You know, I didn't need it so stiff, and did that, and the bike handled really good the second moto. My mechanic, Brian, did a great job, and Rick and Brett on suspension, they did a great job, and Kawasaki really supported us this weekend, and, you know, too bad we didn't get the overall this weekend, but we'll get it, you know, we'll get the championship.
Well, it's like in basketball, halftime adjustment.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we did. We made some adjustments, and they worked good. You know, they were the right way. Now we know what to do at, you know, following tracks through the season. And everything's going good, and it's a long year. It's only the first race. I think, you know, I kind of got a little awakening here, so I'm going to train a lot harder and get that championship again.
As you take a look at the point standings, David, you predicted the first race.
Well, I've been saying McGrath could win Gainesville and possibly the outdoor title, and everyone's been looking at me like I'm nuts. But all he lacked last year was the desire to do it and the fitness. He has both this year.
All right, it should be a great season in 1995. We have enjoyed it. We'll see you next from Hangtown. For Art Ekman, David Bailey, I'm John Kernan. So long, everybody.